This is a tool that we use to compress a spring on the front of the TR6. You can see it's a threaded bar, it's got two lock nuts and a safety pin on the top. It's got one nut on the bottom with the safety pin with two washers and the flat piece that goes under the spring. I have a car on the hoist right now that I've got in pieces, so I'll use the tool on the front of that car so you can see how it works. I've removed the wheel already and the rotor, also the caliper, and I've taken off the stone shield as well, and I took off the link for the sway bar on the front. It should fit on here, and this is so you can see it a bit better. Now you can see the top ball joint, the control arm, the link, the trunnion, the lower control arm. It's got the road spring, and on the inside it's got the shock absorber. First thing we do is undo the shock absorber on the top. So we have to release the two lock nuts on it first. Now I'm getting lucky, the shock absorber isn't turning. If it does turn, there's a flat spot on the top. You can put a small wrench on it and try holding it. If that doesn't work, you can use a pair of water pump pliers, stick them in and get hold of the cover on the shock absorber itself, and that will stop it turning. Be careful not to compress it too much or bend it out of shape, because that's easy done. So watch the pressure on your water pump pliers. If you're replacing a shock absorber, it doesn't matter. So we undo the rest of this, take this off, take off the nut, and then we pull off the rubber and the washer. We've moved down now to underneath the bottom control arm. You can see the 4 bolts that hold the bracket that holds the bottom of the shock absorber. We need to undo these 4 bolts, so that's where we start, right here. First we slacken them off. And then we just undo the bolts. Once we have the nuts off, you'll need to use a screwdriver just behind the top of it to waggle a bracket off the studs, and then the whole thing will come out. Now we're able to put the tool in. You do so by putting the end of the rod in up through where the shock absorber came out of. Drop it in through the top. Put the 2 washers on it. Put one nut and then the other one. The lock nut. Then we put our safety in, and we check our 2 bolts. And we lock the 2 nuts together. Now you can move the plate up in position. It only goes one way. You'll see that there's more of a gap on this side, it's longer than it is on that side, it's shorter. Put the longer one to the outside. And what I do is just put a couple of nuts on just to stop it falling down, basically. The reason why I've got 2 lock nuts on the top and a safety pin is because when we lock these together, when we start to tighten up the bottom nut, we need to hold the shaft from turning. So I use a lock nut. I use a top one. Put it on the bottom, we wind it out. Now make sure you pull it up enough to clear the nuts off the back of here, on the back stud, because it's a stud, not a bolt, so you'll have to take the nut right off. So lift it up so you're clear of that. And now what you can work on If you want to work on the top end, you can change the inner control arm bushes, you can change the top ball joint, and you can actually change the link. So what I'm going to do now is take off the ball joint to show you. There's the two bolts that hold the ball joint on. You can see the whole thing, you can see there's no tension on it. So what I'm going to do, instead of taking it off completely, I'm going to leave it on because I want to take the spring right off the bottom. So I don't want this flopping around. So I'm just going to leave the one knot on here for now. But you can see the whole thing's loose. You've got no problem taking it off. Now if you want to remove the bottom control arm bushes or the trunnion, that's a whole different thing. Now we've got to go one stage more. Okay, now we go for underneath, and what we're going to undo is the control arm plate on the bottom. I'm going to do that, and I have to undo all the nuts on the bottom. As you can see, we got this one out already, of course. Now starting at the back, now I've cracked them all. This one we got to do with a wrench. This as we do it. Now this is the last nut. I took all the other ones off. Take this out of here and put our bolts together out of the way. Now we got our two wrenches. Stick our bent one on the top, and you were thinking, why was it a bent one? Now start to undo this. Now what will happen here sometimes is the top nut will start to unscrew as the whole shaft turns, if this nut's on tight. And if the whole shaft turns and that nut comes off the top and releases the spring, very bad. That's why we've got two lock nuts to hold it and the safety clip, so that nut cannot come off the top. If it comes off the top when this is turning, big problem. So that's what the lock nuts and the safety are there for. So don't forget them. You wind this down, as you can see. Good catch. As you can see, the plate is coming off the bottom. We got control of it, so nobody's going to get hurt. And we keep winding it off. And now we've got hold of the spring. You can see our suspension's loose. If we want the spring off completely, we just keep winding until we take all the tension off it. And once we've done that, just take the plate off the bottom and the spring will come out. Bob's your uncle. When you put it back in, run the tape backwards.